Hello, everyone out there, the beautiful people. I'm so excited today because today is the first episode of the Wake the Fuck Up channel, and I'm here with the amazing Keith Anthony Blanchard. And the reason why it's so amazing to have Keith Anthony Blanchard on here today is because he's the one that first interviewed me on my book, Wake the Fuck Up, the Wake the Fuck Up book, A Journey from Death to Awakening. And he was so, amazing, nice and inviting. And I'm so thrilled for you guys to be able to dive in deep with him today. So I'm just going to kind of read you his bio, and then we're just going to get right into it. So Keith Anthony Blanchard is the founder and host of the Center of Light Radio, whose listening audience now reaches 3 million. Keith is the author of several books, including his original book, which has become a bestseller, The Divine Principle, Anchoring Heaven on Earth, For the Love of God, A Spiritual Journey, and the children's book, which a children's book series was named after his son, Eden Sky, Wonder Why. And watch for his next release. I'm going to say the Homecoming. That's what we're going to talk about today. And he's also a co-producer of 2 films, Do What You Love and The Meek Shall Inherit the Earth. And I watched that Meek Shall Inherit the Earth, and it's a must-see because it's so impactful, it's so knowledgeable, so amazing. So thank you, Keith, for that. And as a spiritual anchor, Keith is remarkable in his natural, sincere love and acceptance of all people, which is palpable to those who connect with him. When speaking to a live audience, Keith brings his gift of deep intuition to attune the conversation to most immediate needs and desires of his audience. And as a live presenter, Keith, as a live presenter and spiritual leader, his broad and vast spiritual wisdom and background enlightens and resonates with a wide range of spiritual seekers and light workers. And in his talks, Keith will reveal the key elements of spiritual development through an expansive perspective. He will also offer empowering, fresh insights and mystical wisdom teaching and practical mindset and real world activities that illuminate and spark your God fire. And before we kind of get into his book, The Homecoming, which I'm so excited that you guys have to buy a copy because you have to think of it, it's going to be gone like hotcakes, and it gets released on August 1st, 2020. And I'll let Keith kind of dive in deeper to that. But first, Keith, thank you so much. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I've been waiting to say this on the Wake the Fuck Up movement.
Yes.
Thank you for having me. I'm
yes,
enjoying it already.
Yes, and luckily there's no restrictions in regards to saying that word. Wake the fuck up.
It's a beautiful word. Yeah, it has lots of power, and you use it responsibly and makes you point.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's that word, I love it so much because it's multifaceted, right? It can be used in so many different ways. Yes. So Keith, I just kind of want to get into it. I have these questions that I want to ask you for a long time, and many people answer this question differently, but can you tell me, who are you?
I'm becoming. I am unfolding into something that is a beautiful possibility that we all have inherently. I am taking the steps towards 1,000 years. It takes that long to get there. And when a person chooses to take that first step, they've taken 500. That's half of the journey, because nothing, absolutely nothing happens until that first step is taken. Nothing happens. So in the stepping out, stepping in, stepping up, stepping forward towards something, we just shave 500 miles off of our spiritual journey. And then things get really good really quick. It's not hard. It's never been hard. And if it's trying too hard, you're overshooting your target and you will miss it forever. It's easy. So I am that which is becoming. I am unfolding into something that's a beautiful possibility, just like everybody else. I'm just doing mine consciously.
That is so beautiful, Keith. That's almost making me so emotional, bringing, tears to my eyes because, I think, when you say that unfolding and becoming, because if you're open to the newness of your being and things that are thrown into your path, yeah, you're constantly becoming. So I love that so much. So thank you, Keith. Thank you. Yes. And another question is, what point in your life did you realize that you had to kind of wake the fuck up? And can you explain that process?
I realized that when a girlfriend of 10 years said goodbye. I was living in South Louisiana, aspiring musician. She was my girlfriend. She was my food. She was my sex. She was my shelter. She was my transportation. She was my money. She was all that. I'm an aspiring musician. And after many years of fighting, and she had finally had enough, she said, I'm done. So one day my bandmates came over when we were in the process of breaking up. And they, out of nowhere, they said, we're moving to Memphis, Tennessee. Do you want to go? And there was nothing in the way of music where I came from in South Louisiana. So I looked at the girl and said, I looked at the guys in the rider truck and I went, I gotta go. And I jumped aboard the rider truck. Well, sometime later, she joined me again. We got back together for another 4 years. And when she said goodbye, I was in nothing. I had nothing. My whole life was invested externally. And when she left, I was blaming her for my happiness and my joy and my bliss. And when she left, that was all simply just removed. It was nothing. And I found myself in a dark night of the soul. And so I woke the fuck up when I got on my knees and said, I need to hear your voice. Because at early ages of my life, I was truly thinking of becoming a Catholic priest. So I met the girl, had the guitar, wanted to dream God, went in the closet. And when she left, I went back to that same closet and got on my knees and said, please come out and play with me. And I said a prayer for 3 weeks. I need to hear your voice. But I opened the door somehow. I was so passionate, sincere, humble, and vulnerable. And even though I said this prayer for 3 weeks to a month, I don't think it was the 3 weeks to the month, a month that took that time for the higher intelligence God created to say, okay, I believe he's serious now. Let me go pay my visit. Yeah. I knew it was coming about in that first asking because there was a yearning in me, a fire that truly wanted it. And so it just took 3 weeks for me to get myself together for it to unfold so I was able to receive it.
Yes. So how was that for you when that unfolded for you that way?
When the voice spoke that morning, one June morning, 1996, I was sleeping after a long night of playing at the casino, 7 grueling sets, and it's an hour plus away. And I had no intentions, of dreaming. I just wanted to go to bed. I was tired. Got home at 3:30 in the morning, whatever. And I heard, good morning, Keith. It's time for you to wake up. So I look around the house. And there's nobody in my house. So let me lay down. I know what it is. It's a dream voice. No big deal. Now I'm going to go back to sleep. When I lay in the bed, I hear, good morning, Keith. I asked you to wake up. And I knew something was happening. I sat up in bed because of the surprise of it all. And I was violently, lovingly thrown back on the bed, my eyes closed. And I found myself submersed in a divine experience. God, if you will, at the absolute. I knew the molecules, where they came from, why they're here, and where they're going next. When I heard the voice, there was an audible component to it, yes. But I saw the voice. I smelled the voice. I tasted the voice. It was everything imaginable. And when this voice, let's use that word, voice spoke, it spoke once. It gave me what I call a packet of light. And in that packet was everything, not only everything it wanted from me in that moment, I think the entire book of the Divine Principle, which is now a part of Homecoming, Crossing the Bridge to the Soul. I believe in that moment, the entire book, in fact, this moment was in that light packet. But when it spoke in, there was only one planting of a packet. I call that whole thought. It's not thoughts that follow thoughts, fragmented thought. This was whole thought. Everything was inherent. So the voice said, Keith, go sit on the sofa, press record on your tape player, close your eyes, let your mouth move. And I said, what will I talk about? He says, just go do this. So I sat there and the voice stepped forward just like that. And I logged this information for about a year, ongoingly after the first year, because the voice came to me meditation and said, Keith, that's enough with the meditation and trying to hear information. You have enough. Go out and live what you've received. Anchor it within you. Don't recite things like a parrot. Don't just trust. Go live these principles and watch what happens. So I became a living testimony of that very divine word.
Yeah, that's beautiful because I did have that question, you know, and you answered it when I was getting and when getting to your book because I wanted to ask you how that felt when you know that kind of God spoke through you and how it felt. So it was nice to know that and for you to explain that you kind of felt it, you tasted it, you touched it, and when you heard that thought, like how did it come through? Did you feel it like in this the space right here, or like how did you feel it coming through you?
That's a beautiful question. It's the first time it's ever been asked.
Mm.
It didn't feel like it was coming from a somewhere.
Okay.
It was simply present. It
Mm.
was present. It
Woo!
wasn't coming from a where. It is the here, which it is here all the time. I was just graceful or grateful enough and to be in the grace of just becoming aware of that which is around everybody,
Yeah.
but on a higher level of intelligence, consciousness,
Yeah.
awareness.
Yeah, and the reason why I asked you that, because I've actually had a similar experience, you know, but like I felt it somewhere in this area, like the right in the heart chakra area. But then as soon as I questioned it, I'm like, what is this? Am I going crazy? You know, and then it went away. So that's why, and I felt like this really cool sensation here in this kind of heart chakra area. That's how it and it's almost how I describe it was a thought that spoke to me, like you know what I mean. So that's why I was wanting to know more of like how like where you felt it came from, or where it like if it's in you, like what part in your body did you feel it most, you know?
You know, and I know the I think I'm going crazy
Yeah.
modality,
Yeah.
but also I equally as much. I love the duality, the contrast of the world is amazing. As much as I said, okay, this is nuts. This is I'm going crazy.
Yeah.
There was equally a powerful contrast that says, you know exactly what happened, Keith, and you cannot deny it. And so I had to wrestle with this for a
Yeah.
while until I found some sort of balance.
Yes. Okay. Beautiful. And why do you believe that you were sent on this earth for? And what do you think your God given purpose is?
I can use the word I think I was sent. Sounds too special. I chose.
You
Everyone
chose.
is chosen. What makes me chosen is that I chose a long time ago.
Mm.
I chose eons ago, and I began that 1,000-year journey step forward by going inward, which brought me metaphorically upward, forward, toward something. And this life, again, as I have in past incarnations, past, is that really true? Past, just other incarnations, am doing the same thing again. I wasn't chosen, I wasn't sent. I came
Mm.
because I wanted to, because I knew the benefits it would have in my spiritual development, as well as affect those and influence those around me, which would make my divinity, their divinity, our divinity, the divinity greater, expansive, to where everybody wins. Just everybody simply wins. So the choice really is up to each and every person, the chosen or those who choose to listen.
Yes, and there was actually this kind of prompts one of the parts in your book where you said that I can remember the earliest times that in my life or my existence where I was just waiting, you know what I mean, to kind of cross over to the other side. Can you explain that? You know, I when I read that in your book, I'm like, whoa, you know, to go back that, and it's almost like a you know production line. Everyone is just kind of waiting to cross over. You know, can you explain that?
I have a memory,
Yeah.
I'm still present there, of being in a spiritual lobby where souls hang out
Mm,
that are waiting to be born to go to Earth.
yeah.
So I'm in queue. And strangely, synchronistically, this is sort of how it is on extraterrestrial spaceships, higher level intelligence, extraterrestrials. It's all about children. It's all about children. It's all about birth and innocence and this kind of stuff. And when I'm in this spiritual lobby waiting to be born, there are infinite souls everywhere, literally infinite souls, not 2,000, not a million, infinite souls waiting in queue to be born as human. Any being in the universe can aspire to humanhood, but it's only through humanhood that God can be realized. So human birth is a pretty powerful thing. But in this spiritual lobby, waiting for your number to be pulled so you can fall down to earth, be on
Yeah.
the earth,
Yeah.
there was a great excitement and anticipation from all the infinite souls there. And somehow this excitement was the fuel that turned the cosmic birth engine on and allowed it to function flawlessly. So all this excitement, everyone wringing their hands, oh my God, I'm next, oh my God, I'm next, kind of thing, is sort of this big burst of light and this energy that fuels the entire system. But in that lobby, it was just so simple. It's truly just a place of waiting. And there's no time involved. It's not like you waiting until it's your turn and waiting until it's your turn. It has somewhat that feel to it because now I'm only in the human timeline as I reflect back. It's such a different reality there.
Yeah, and just going back to what you said, like you said that you chose to come onto this earth plane. When you chose to come on this earth plane, I know it for everyone's kind of personal and spiritual development, but can you recall specifically what that development was for you that you chose to want to work on here on earth?
In past incarnations, I literally have truly achieved levels of divinity. I came here this time, not per se to completely wake the fuck up. I came here to do exactly what I'm doing, to be right where I am. Of course, to expand to my fullest, but it's not necessary that I become fully charged with light this time. Because, again, I am coming home, homecoming, and I'm crossing the bridge to the soul, and I'm having others follow me. Mm. So my coming to this earth was to work on letting go of fear-based things, such as the girlfriend, and just normal life lessons that are my personal life lessons to expand into that would bring me to this very point of my life to be the teacher that I am and how things are playing out. But I came here to work on things just like everybody else. But in other lifetimes, I have experienced things of amazing power, amazing majesty.
Oh, that's beautiful. So in this life, in your life here as Keith, what do you know for sure?
I know for sure I'm having a beautiful conversation with you.
Likewise, I'm having an amazing conversation with you.
I know for sure that there's something in here that not only belongs to us, it is us. Mm-hmm. Don't believe when people tell you the light lives in you and that you were created. It's hogwash. The light doesn't live in you and you were not created. You are the light and you are eternal. Yeah. It changes the whole ballgame, doesn't it? So we don't live in these boxes anymore that, well, the light lives in me. So now I got to go through the work of finding the light in me so I can amalgamate and unify with it and then say I'm the light. But why not just call it for what it is right from the top? This is what we think we are. Mm-hmm. Actually, this is what many people think they are. They're the filter in between the clear mind. Mm-hmm. The clear mind, this is what everyone should want to become. And regardless whether you're of clear mind or one of cloudy, the divine source, the divine fire that lives in each and every one of us, begins to push through the filter of the mind or the no filter of the mind. Simply, the 3D movie we call life on the screen gets projected into what you call your reality. So it's truly integral, very important, very beneficial that at this moment of your life, don't wait. You are late already if you haven't. Is to become absolutely clear so that your divine principal parent can move through you, what you know as you, or believe as you rather, your vessel, and begin to anchor the heaven on earth prophecy through you, one at a time. The wake the fuck up movement begins to occur throughout the world. The next thing you know, we're living globally as the children of divine light. Mm-hmm. I know that for sure. Yeah. I know that without a doubt. I've seen the visions. I am the vision. You are the vision. We are the vision, and we are doing it. Mm-hmm. I know that for sure.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that visual, Keith, because that brings me to a particular point in your book where you're talking about that, you know, we are the projector and God is a light within us shining through, you know, and how, you know, with this life, if it's like a movie, that we shouldn't be spectating this life, that we should be directing it into the most amazing life that we can make it. Because I believe, and I'm sure you feel the sentiment, is that we are meant to be put on this earth, or we chose to be put on this earth for our fullest expression. If you don't like life's movie, you have to change the film. When you're watching
a romance or you're watching a horror flick. Because
Mm-hmm.
if we can liken to God, let's Yanava, Yah. Yah would be the heart, the fire, the power, the will, God.
Mm-hmm.
That fire is moving through everyone all the time. If you can liken this to a movie projector, God is the light, you are the canister, the housing, the projector itself. That's really not what you are, but in this analogy. And the filter of your mind would be the film. Well, the light still shines white, no matter if it's a comedy, a horror, drama. It doesn't matter. It's the same light. And so on the 3D screen of reality, life happens. So if you don't like your life, you have to learn how to change the film and put in a new film. So when I spoke about Yah, everything's backwards, so forgive me. Yanava. Yah is the heart, God, fire, power, will. Na is the mind, and Va is the backbone. So when we put these three aspects of our sacred seed primordial self into action, there's nothing that you cannot bring about. Because these three components, if you can imagine the Godhead, where there's absolute no separation whatsoever, and this is where we are, which we are already, but let's say from that perspective, this is where we are. And I decide I want to go down to earth. I want to wait in that spiritual lobby. The first level, the first tier below the absolute God reality is still the absolute God reality, but from somewhat another perspective, because now I'm choosing to become an individual and not part of the absolute whole consciousness. I'm now choosing to be an individual. And everybody chooses that at this level of God, if you will, when people are choosing individuality. This place is called Yanavaha. Yanava. More true would be Yaha Naha Vaha. So this is the primordial sacred seed syllables of our ancient self. I just choose it as my spiritual name to represent that very fire, that very energy.
Amazing. And so, how can one know themselves better, connect with themselves better, and connect with themselves better?
First thing, the 1,000-year journey. You have to want it. You have to step. If you kind of creep a little bit, you're going to get creepy results and creeping results. But if you move into it, seriously move into it, passionately, sincerely, humbly, and vulnerably, you exponentiate, you hasten the experience. It's your level of oomph that you put into your wanting of a certain thing to expand, to experience, to feel these things. I did a presentation last night on bliss. What is bliss? I told the audience, I shared with the audience, I said, do you want to be a blissful human being? And I left them there for a second. And I said, if you actually tried to come up with an answer, you've already missed it. Do you want to be a human being? Don't answer the question. Just sit in the silence. And then you will see something else happen between the this choice and the this choice, which is still duality. This is not the world we want to play in anymore. We want to get out of duality. So don't choose. Look at the choices and realize, who is this being that has been taught and instilled that I only have one choice to make, and it's either this one or that one? Well, who is this being that is observing the choice of this or that one? That has my interest. That is the Holy Spirit. That which comes around and rectifies the imbalance. That which is forever. That which is the power. That which is, it completes itself. The dance is over. So when you become the absolute observer of watching this, you understand that the only true meaning in life is you. And in that stillness, there is no question. There is no answer. In fact, the answer is the question, and the question is the answer. They're the same thing. As soon as a question is posed, questions are birthed, obviously, out of ignorance. And answers are given out of wisdom. They're the same thing. They're completely the same thing. They're husband and wife.
Yes. I think you should have been a pastor, Keith, because I feel like you're taking me to church today. It's amazing. Yeah. And with the current landscape of the world right now, how can we as humans help heal humanity and help heal Mother Earth?
First thing that has to happen, the absolute first thing, absolute first thing that has to happen. How do we heal humanity and how do we heal Mother Earth? Well, of course, we need to heal ourselves first, because if we try to write a check for $1,000 and we don't have the money in our account, the check's going to bounce. So we have to have that which we want to give. But the way that you can do this powerfully, that'll increase your vibration, that'll nicely put you in favor, if you will, with spirit, is forgive you. Don't forgive anybody else first. Don't forgive the world first. Don't forgive people first. Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for the things you have done, the things you have not done. Forgive other people for what they have done to you, for what they didn't do to you, vice versa. What these Buddhist monks and these Indian mystical monks are doing in these caves in the Himalayas, they're not just baby Jesus coming, they're not doing any of that. They're going within themselves and forgiving everything they have ever done, everything that anyone has ever done to them. They're forgiving everything that other people have done to other people, and so forth. And they're doing this on multiple dimensional layers. They're just moving into forgiveness, because if God is the energy, the creation, and the absolute forgiveness, using forgiveness it becomes a very powerful vehicle, like a spiritual Ferrari that'll get you to your destination faster. So forgiveness is a way of exalting oneself. And when one begins to lift oneself up, then one begins to radiate that very energy of forgiveness. Because forgiveness, Jesus came here for forgiveness. Forgiveness. So in order for us to move out of sinful, if we use that word, or folly, or misery, or nonsense, we have to truly understand what forgiving is. Because we will never touch the garment of the divine until we understand the puny small self. How can we ever understand that which is infinite and the majesty when we don't understand the finite and the tragedy? Yeah. So it's a way of moving into the winner circle.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there, Keith, 1,000%, because I talk about that a lot as well as forgiveness, because forgiveness is, it frees you, there's no reason anybody should want to carry this burden of hurt and suffering in them when they can just release themselves. Yeah, I had to do that too. With everything I went through, I had to forgive myself for how mean I was, how this negative self-talk. But it's only, people, it's such a powerful practice, is that when you're able to get into this self-forgiveness, it becomes so much easier to forgive others. Because we are at times our own worth critic, and we are the ones kind of creating the barriers to what we seek in life, so that is so key, and that's so beautiful. Yeah. And so in addition to that, being able to kind of heal humanity and Mother Earth, what is something else that people can do from your experience that can make them wake the fuck up right now, today?
Get out of the fight. Get out of the fight of politics. Get out of fighting with your family. Get out of fighting with your lover. Get out of fighting with your children. Get out of fighting with racism. Even if you're standing up for anti-racism, get out of the fight. Well, Keith, how am I supposed to help that particular situation if I don't stand up and be an anti-racist? You're still in the fight. You're in the game of racism. So there is a fighting going on. Your position may have changed from racist to anti-racism, but you're still fighting with those who are racist. Well, Keith, that doesn't sound like it can be of a benefit. You can be of the most benefit when you get out of fighting, because all those things I've named are just an internal bickering with the self. Mm-hmm. How can we ever find the clarity of mind for the source that lives in all of us to push us to a better reality? It's impossible. It will never happen. Don't delude yourself on pseudo-spirituality. You can. That's your choice. Mm-hmm. There's never been any other way. There's only one path. Only one path. There are many paths to the path. There's only one path. Many paths will take you to the path, but there's only one path. And you have to be just like what you are waiting for when you get to the other side. You have to be just like it. You have to bring that to you to receive a tether that will pull you inward to the very place you're trying to get. It's your GPS system. It's your God positioning system. So what you want to do is get out of fighting. Just simply get out of it. I'm done. Everything's quiet. Even in this noisy world, I see quiet. I'm looking at the empty space between the noise, the politics, the this, the that, the other thing. I'm simply the awareness that's just watching this movie. And I can best influence the movie when I become the director, Steven Spielberg, or whoever the guy is. What's that thing they do with the camera? And they looking at the reality and they knowing when to insert themselves to say, that was a good scene, but let's do this. So getting out of fighting is integral. It's utmost important. Stop talking. Stop telling long-winded stories that wear people out. Hey, what did you do today? Well, I'm at a grocery shop and I turned down the first aisle, bought some tissue paper. And you know what? I knew there was something on sale, so I went to aisle number 3. And you tell them this whole gamut. They don't want to hear all that. When you ask them what they did, when they ask you what you did, all you have to say is, I went to the grocery store, went to the bank, ran a few errands. How was your day? That's all they want to hear. They don't want to hear this long-winded story. But fighting always accompanies a long-winded story, because after the fight, they can't wait to just tell you all the drama and how it all went down. Mm-hmm. Be quiet. Stop fighting. Step back and understand that what you think is happening isn't. And what you think is not happening likely is. These are very, very powerful spiritual nuggets that will take you across that 1,000-year journey in a very short amount of time.
Yes, that is really powerful, Keith. And there's this quote that I love by George Carlin. And I think, when you're talking about the stop fighting, I think, his quote that he said is that, fighting for peace is just like fucking for virginity. It's just not going to work, So at the end of the day, these movements are kind of, you cannot fight hate with hate. Like, you only can just kind of be of love. So people think that, they're fighting for a certain cause, which is the cause and creation of what they're trying to stop. And it's almost like that awareness that, like, you have that clear crystal ball with the light. People need to kind of get that light and awareness of it. So thank you for that. That was really powerful.
That was wonderful, because in fighting, even if it's an anti-fight, you're in a fight, and those people you are fighting against, they're going to hit back. So you're still in the fight, regardless of what position you take. So you get out of the fight. Yes, you can best serve.
Yeah. So now let's get into the good of your book, The Homecoming. Keith, amazing, phenomenal book. Yes. So it is coming out on August 1st. And like I'm telling you guys, you get it like it's going to be gone like hotcakes, because if you are really looking for personal and spiritual development, mostly in the spiritual development realm, that is the book to kind of help guide you. So Keith, can you tell us a bit about the creation of this book, the Homecoming, and what outcome you want for readers, or what kind of outcome can they expect from reading your book? I don't really like to kind of use the word expectation, but sometimes what is the outcome that they can realize after reading your book?
You can expect to be a joyful human being. Mm. You can expect to feel like you're saved. So for those who are listening, I'm a wordsmith. I'm not going to do quotes. I don't believe in sin and saved, but I use these words on purpose because people understand those words. You can feel like you're going to feel like you've been saved. You've saving your own ass. No one saved you. Jesus is not coming to save you, nor is he ever. It's never going to happen. This goes against everything. It's still not going to happen. You can tell your mom there's nothing she can do about it either. Let's use that analogy. It's a very powerful analogy. Well, Jesus saves people. Until you choose to take the 1,000-year step, to be saved with Jesus, nothing happens. Nothing happens. Because some people who don't go to church and ask to be saved never get saved. Mm. But once they go and declare that they want to be saved, and then it happens to them. So you're the one choosing the saving of yourself. When you read this book, it's going to open you up right here. You're going to fall into a very beautiful spot. God walks in and introduces himself and says, I am everything you can possibly imagine, even the parts of you that are asleep. Mm. And I've been walking by your side for eons. When you realize who that is and how that works, you will never be afraid again. In the book, lovingly, it's very motherly. It's very motherly. It's very cradling, as if you're sucking on a divine teat. and
I
receiving
love that. I love that.
milk and honey from your divine mother. And she's always saying, you're not in trouble. You've just been sleeping. And here are these spiritual biscuits to have with your spiritual coffee every morning when you wake up. And when you wake the fuck up, when you wake up, it's truly about waking up. It's not about, oh my God, please this, that. That is not what it is. It's too hard. It's too hard. It's simply too hard. This is more the correct posture to receive what I know homecoming, crossing the bridge to the soul, will do for anyone who reads it. It's creating this posture within yourself. And it sits right there.
Oh, beautiful.
That's it. It's not hard. It's it. It's not hard. It's not this place. We're all trying to go there, but where we're trying to get to is actually here. We're trying to get here. We're trying to go there to get here. Where we are is the reality. And so when we shift simply by will, intent, passion, sincerity, humility, and vulnerability, in that gesture that I did, I take a breath. That's intent. I want it. I'm serious about it. I'm passionate about it. Breath is God. God is life. Breath is life. So I want that breath. And I exhale. This means I'm releasing myself from the earth. And I fall. And I fall into humility, which is I am reverent, only to have my parents say, stand up, Keith. Expose yourself. And I'll become vulnerable. And I open up the light. So these four components, if you get really good at them, you will find yourself crossing the bridge to the soul and standing in the cosmic sandbox in a matter of a moment, just like that.
Amazing. And why do you, because I mean, there's this concept or what I read a long time ago by Maxwell Walt, and I truly resonate with it. And it's that, you know, you were made in the image and likeness of the Creator, you know, and why is it so challenging, you know, for people to comprehend that and make that connection?
That's fantastic. And being growing up Catholic, when people say it's because it's confusing. They've at least the Catholicism they have never been taught to examine what in the image means. They think in the image. Most people think that God looks like a white man with a white beard in the clouds. So with this understanding, or limited understanding, or ignorance rather, they're expecting God to look like you. God made you in his image to somewhat look like him. But in his likeness, in fact, Catholicism, they never even touched that one. It just stopped simply right there. But what it means is God made you in his image, his imagination. And as you are an imaginative being yourself, likewise, you create, we bring forth. So thoughts can be seeds, or they can be poison. And again, you don't have a choice to make, positive or negative thoughts. The third choice is to simply be that third component. The one that is never talked about, the one that is never taught, which is to simply be in that space. Because in that space, there's a wanting for nothing. The world simply disappears. It's not a running away from the world. It's moving into reality, so that the reality begins to integrate itself over time as a spiritual practitioner that you might be, until you become the walking, talking personification of that very grace. And in so doing, Jesus moves into you, Sai Baba moves into you, your great grandmother, who was just a loving lady all of her life on the other side, she moves into you. Anything that can mean anything at all moves into you. It's all you. Everything is you. So the sovereignty, the grace, the love, it's not all these things we were taught, because these things that we were taught are so superficial. No one has ever really worked with us on an intuitive level to bring us all the way into the experience. They just teach us some words and some doctrine. And some people are completely satisfied with paltry scraps of information.
Yes.
I'm not into mediocre. I want the whole pie.
Yeah. And for those of you that are listening and watching right now, I just want to read you a little bit of Keith's book. You know, this, okay, Keith said, if God is the beginning and the end, and we are in the middle of that, who are we? If God is omnipresent, present in all places at all times, who are we? Point to yourself, point to God. Can you see the connection? At our essence, that is the truth of who we are. Oh, and that's why I said, like, we are made in the image and likeness of the Creator. And when you had that statement in there, that totally fully encompassed that. Like, that's so beautiful.
Thank you. And you expressed it very gorgeous. When I hear such things, even if it's from my work, it's not my work, it's Spirit's work, and I just enjoy it. And I get reminded, just like you, image and likeness, this is powerful. Mm-hmm. This is God. Okay? So full time. And in God is omnipresent. It's in my hair. It's in my shirt. It's in you listening to me. It's in you speaking to your mother. It's on in the chair you're sitting on. But let's just call this God. Awareness, clarity, absolute clarity, purity. This represents God. Oops, I dropped it and it shatters all over the ground. Mm-hmm. See, because as I look at this, I see one experience. But I dropped it on the cement and it's shattered. You pick up a fragment, it's no different than looking at the whole. Mm. It's still clear, pure, divine, still the same. But strangely, when all the pieces are together, you have one experience. But when they're shattered, individuals, people, it's still the same experience. And it's amazing how it's a hologram. It's exactly what it is. It's a hologram. And so God made us in his image and his likeness. This is what we all are collectively. The problem is not everybody is aware. This just came barreling through.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful.
Most people don't feel they deserve it.
Oh, yeah. That is a big key component into the awareness of things, is that they don't believe they deserve it, and that feeling that they're not enough. So when they're not enough and they don't deserve it, then who am I to even think that I'm greater than who I am today? However.
Nor will I ever forgive myself. I'm not worth it. I'm a worthless piece of shit.
Yeah. You just took the thoughts out of my mind. That's what I'm saying. I'm not. I don't deserve it because I'm a piece of shit. And people need to realize it's almost like the shit that you say to yourself. If you were to say that to your friends, you wouldn't have any friends. If you were to say that to your family, you would be disowned. So why the hell do we say such mean stuff to ourselves? I've been there and done that. And, right now, like, in my life or with anything, I just try to be a bit more kinder, compassionate, and loving to myself, because as we are kind and compassionate to other people, we have to turn that inwards to ourselves as well.
Yeah. Someone calls you a jerk. You might be upset for a little while, but you get over it.
Yeah.
You have an inner dialogue with yourself that calls you a jerk. You can't get over it. You have to get through it.
Yes. Amazing.
What you say to yourself is far more detrimental than what anybody else can ever tell you. Mm-hmm. Someone walks up to me and calls me an asshole, and go, God bless you, my brother. I'm glad someone recognizes it finally. So it doesn't affect me. Sticks and stones don't break bones. You choosing to allow people's thoughts to crush you. Period. End of story. That's called taking responsibility. For living in a world, it's a dangerous world, man. You can't make sense of something that doesn't make sense. This world doesn't make sense. It's not supposed to make sense. You are supposed to make sense of it all, of yourself. You're supposed to make sense as in CENTS, sense as in currency. Yeah. There's a river of current. There's a current river moving. Not only is it current as in a movement of a river, but it's current, it's right now, and it's also currency. And when you see your worth, you simply float to the top of the river, and the river moves you down the stream effortlessly. When you weigh yourself down, you become a stone that bucks the current, like a rapid. You're turbulent, trouble happens. And you're still trying to go upstream. Like a salmon going upstream, only thing that's there, you want nothing upstream, trust me. The only thing you will find upstream are bears that will eat your ass. So you will find, when you find your worth, your value appreciates. It lifts. It's as above, so below. Everything is metaphorical. As above, so below, you lift. You lift. What is lift? Metaphor for God, up. Everything is up that seems to be better than this place.
Oh, that's amazing. That's a see. What did I tell you guys? You guys are not going to be disappointed. Look at. I mean, I am so blessed. Thank you so much, Keith. Like, oh my God, you are filled with gems. And what I want to get into right now, like, because when I was first starting to read, I read your book, and I just like you just kind of dropped it right there, like the divine script. So, can you talk about your divine script? And I know, like, how you were illustrating it with, say your relationships that you had with these females, and then, as much as you were heartbroken, you talked about that previously in the beginning of this interview, that you knew that everything was part of this divine script, that these things need to unfold to kind of break through another area that leads you down to the path that you were meant to go. So can you please talk about your divine script? I love that.
When I was 6 years old, I had a brother who's 10 years older than me. He's passed a few years ago. But when I was 6 years old, he was 16. This is back in the 60s, right? Mm-hmm. So this was like, I was born in 63, 6 years old, let me 69, 1969. So I asked my brother, hey, Kerry, you played this song yesterday, and I tried my best to come up with the lyrics. I couldn't do it. Tried to come up with the melody. I couldn't. He goes, little man, I wish I can think of your song, but I can't. Well, that night, my parents, one of the benefits we had was my family would take us to the VFW bowling alley once a month. We went to the bowling alley that night. It was my turn. So the 6-year-old kid throwing this 8-pound ball between his legs to roll it down. And the jukebox was really loud. And out came the song, Last Train to Clarksville by the Monkees. And I looked at my brother and said, that's the song. When that song came out of that jukebox, I knew my script. I wanted nothing else. I wanted to be a full-time musician. In fact, I didn't even really sweat about it. Many years later, my mom said, Keith, I know you want to be a musician for your career, and you're probably very good at it, but go get a job. And I ignored it. I just stayed true to the script. And I've been very successful as a full-time musician, which I have done until lock-in. But when it comes to the spiritual work, I know that I came here deliberately. I came here to be the teacher that I am now, and still developing, but will be moving into soon on a greater stage of earth, to be as a voice for spirit, to bring about the prophecy of heaven on earth. I would like to show you an image, please. Mm-hmm. This image is of a divine man who is on the earth today. I'm blessed to be around this man. His name is Sri 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 Visvayogi Viswamji Maharaj. This is God on the earth today. This is his 9th incarnation. He was here many thousands upon thousands upon thousands of years ago as the first God realized human being to ever walk on the earth. I met this man, not man, God on earth, by a phone call that happened when I finished. When I fixed the last comma in this book, the last page, I hit save on the document and I stood up. Talk about alignment. I hit save on the document, I stood up in the chair and I said, thank you for a beautiful 14 years. Hello? Hey, Keith, Mona Winfrey here. Hey, Mona. Blah, 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 back and forth, meet and greet. Keith, the reason I'm calling you is this God realized man from India found you astrally, and he wants you to interview him on Sinner Light Radio. And this all began to unfold. And so I know that I was placed here by Swamiji in this regard, to be a vessel for his unifying power of uniting humanity. And I do that by bringing people themselves over the bridge into the garden, by empowering them with things that will open them up immediately. But again, a person has to really want to be open to receive. Unity of heaven on earth and the people of this planet is going to happen. Who, where, when is a different matter entirely. It's the meek. You have to get out of the fight. You have to be the ones to simply want to sit back and watch the game, as much as it will pull your heart out of your chest. Bad news is coming. Beautiful news is coming. It's all here. Remember, you don't have a choice. You sit back. Then you will know when it's time to step in, when it's time to pull back. I will make the greatest good by doing this thing and getting out of these things. The world that is here now is not about seeing. This world is dead. It's dead. It's gone. I'm sorry to tell you, my condolences. It's never coming back, ever. It's not coming back. That word's dead. And people are holding on, ironically, for dear life to a dead world. The world out here is never going to change. But the world to come, which is upon us all, is not even a place out here. It's a space here. The world that's here now, the new world, is not a world of seeing. It's a world of being and freeing that which in you, which is you. You have to feel your way into the kingdom. Suddenly, through the silence, the new world simply appears. But you have to be quiet. You have to get out of the stuff, and the gruff, and the rough, and the tough. You simply have to just allow this to unfold in you like a flower, a beautiful flower, like a lotus flower that grows through murky, dirty, stinky water. That's called the darkness of humanity. That stinky flower, that stinky water. But when you begin to grow like the lotus, suddenly something beautiful begins to happen. I am here to be a bridge to that something beautiful.
Oh, that's beautiful, Keith. And so the God on earth right now, this is the same fella that you talk about in your book, Baba?
That was Satya Sai Baba. That's somebody completely different. This would be Satya Sai Baba, who came to me in a dream, asked me to come to India. I didn't know how I was going to do that. 2 weeks later, I get a phone call from a lady I'd never met, giving me a first-class round-trip ticket to India. It's amazing how these things happen for me, and I'm grateful. This is Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Baba that you were talking about. He left 2011 Easter morning. He was the Godhead personified. He was the absolute of all things that could ever be anything at all. Androgynous, God on earth. Swamiji, Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, these other beings are still that, but there was an earth incarnation involved, so to speak. These beings that I'm speaking about, like, for example, Sai Baba is known as an avatar. These beings don't come here and wake up. They come here completely woke the fuck up.
Yeah. So with that experience when you met him, Baba, like in hindsight right now, today, looking back at when you met him, what do you feel what your biggest lesson was and why you knew that you were absolutely drawn there to meet him?
To stop my knuckleheaded nonsense, to stop my monkey business, because I'm a goofy guy. I love having fun. I love playing human, and I'm really good at it. I enjoy the human meat suit like anybody else. But when I'm done with the meat suit, I do put it in the closet on a coat hanger or whatever, and I get down to business. But I was just a little too fancy free. I believe that Sai Baba was here to remind me of something that is such a pillar of light, to reflect to me my own pillar of light, to all of us, who we are. I've experienced him in dreamscape many times. In fact, that one time he said, come to India. I said, how will I do this? I've never done it. Never did such a thing. Where will I get the money? Where will I go? He goes, Keith, I got it. I let it go. 2 weeks later, I get a phone call from a lady I never met. She says, we got a mutual friend. Word got to me. You want to see a holy man? I got round trip tickets, first class. Would you like one? I'd love to give you one to go experience your master. I fell on my knees, started crying. It's like amazing. God comes to me through the phone. Like this lady called me and I go to India. And then with Swamiji Visva Yogi, when I finished the book and stood up, and then Mona called me and says, Keith, Swamiji wants to interview you to interview him on your radio show. I don't know why it's the phone. It's kind of funny. But I just knew that these beings' arrival in my life is to remind me to say, okay, Keith, now it's time to get down to business. You've had your human fun for 56 and a half years. It's time to get busy.
Amazing. Yes, and I wanted to read another part of your book that I really love, and I think it will help a lot of people. And it has to do with resistance, right? So he said 4 reasons. I knew that everything I thought I knew would have to change. I knew that I had to take full responsibility for the mess I made of my life. I knew that because of my unresolved emotional issues, my life was sure to get worse before it got any better. And here's the real kicker. I was frightened because I didn't want my new I am God attitude to piss God off, but I was determined to change no matter what it took. And this is so important, so key, because a lot of the time I feel, and I've been there myself, where we kind of blame external factors for why our life is so fucked up. You know what I mean? But in hindsight, and become victims rather than victors of our circumstance. But the most important decision that you made this thing that I read is taking responsibility. And please help people understand the importance of taking responsibility for their lives.
If you don't ever take responsibility, even for one single thing, you will never change it. Responsibility means I am open and receptive to the grace that's going to put the power in my hand that will help me change this dynamic once and for all. For example, someone likes to hang out in nightclubs. Wonderful. I played music in nightclubs for years. Fun places. Well, you go sit in a nightclub and someone out of nowhere sucker punches you and you play victim. You have a right to defend yourself, mind you. But after it's all said and done, you just yammering on. You're a victim. So maybe the question becomes, if you want to take responsibility, you should hang out in places where people can just walk up to you and do such things. That's called taking responsibility. And in taking such responsibility, you become 100% powerful to ensure that victimization will never happen to you ever again. That's called responsibility. It's not only about physical violence. It's about your finances. It's about your lovers. It's about your children. It's about everything. As above, so below, on for every it will go. It applies across the board. That's the truth. The truth is that which is equally distributed across the cosmos, infinity. It's the same law that binds everything together, no matter what level or arena we are playing in. So taking responsibility ensures the receptivity of the grace that is full of wisdom and power that will help you change and or shape your life into a beautiful possibility. Now, that last component you read, I was willing to change no matter what it took. If I had to renounce that which I used to hold as sacred, doesn't matter. Someone says, I promise you, Keith, if you turn around and pick up this dog mess and eat a handful of it, you will change. I would have ate the whole pile. You have to want something so much that no matter what it takes, if you trust someone and you know that what they're doing is illuminating their life, but you're scared to shift yourself, when you realize you have to die. You have to die. What you know as you has to die, and that's why people are so scared. They don't want to lose what they know. They're comfortable with what they know, but they do want something better. But they don't know how to pry the meat hooks off of their life experience that is constantly placing them in misery. So you have to jump off the bridge. You have to jump off the cliff, even if it means you're going to die. You are going to die. This world is already dying. It's dying. And people are holding on to dear life for the old world. Same thing applies. Personally, you have to want something so much.
Yes. And there's this amazing quote by Steve Harvey. He says that, but he said something that your life is on the other side of fear. Your beautiful, amazing life is on the other side of fear. And the thing is, you have an acronym in your book regarding fear. Can you tell people what that is?
False emptiness actualizing reality. Some people seem to think that I kind of got this idea from Neil Donald Walsh. My book, I was halfway writing it when Neil Donald Walsh came out with his first release, Conversations with God. And so there are a lot of parallels. It just doesn't make me cool and everything because my book resonates with Neil Donald Walsh. It's the magic is just simply the alignment. But it's false emptiness actualizing reality. False emptiness.
That's so amazing. I loved it when I read it. I was like, oh.
We're so engaged in something that is just simply not real. It actualizes this reality. People, we think that being afraid of something at any given moment is that which protects us from the very thing that we're afraid of. That's the illusion. That's the trap. It's dangling a big carrot in front of your nose. When you bite it, it will bite back twice as hard. Fear throws you directly in the path. So see, in such a way, we become blind to the truth. And so we become into fight, fright, flight response, and we react. The dog sees you reacting, and he wants a piece of your ass because he sees your fear. Yeah. It's incorrect perception. Here's a beautiful analogy, beautiful story, ancient Chinese proverb. Here's a Bengal tiger, beautiful Bengal tiger. He's in a cage, and he can't get out. So I'd like to ask anyone who listened to this interview, this time with you, thank you, is what do you think is holding the tiger in the cage? Think about that, audience. What do you think is keeping the tiger in the cage? You might say the bars. That's incorrect perception. Correct perception is it's the empty space. You bring the space of the bars together, the tiger can't get out. You widen the space, the tiger can get out. So you have been fooled, you have been deluded a long time ago. Likewise, the empty space between notes when it comes to music is the music. It's more of the music than the actual notes. Because without empty space, music is just a drone. Which can be beautiful in and of itself, but that's another application. Likewise, when people speak to you as a spiritual teacher, I don't only hear the words. The words I hear is for this. The empty space I hear is for that. Oh. There is more information in the empty space than people uttering things to you. You have to learn how to listen. So for me, the analogy is the tiger is held in jail, not by the bars, but the empty space. Likewise, fear are those bars. They imprison us. And like the person that you quoted, our liberation is right there on the other side of fear. Mm-hmm. Everything you can ever possibly want, God, if you will, it's right there on the other side of fear.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you, Keith. Who's listening right now? Aren't you just blown away? You know, I can't even wait till after this to share this with others because, you know, this is an awakening. You know, honestly, this is why this whole Wake the Fuck Up channel needed to be started, is to bring amazing individuals, you know, divine individuals like Keith, for him to share his method, his knowledge, his wisdom to help you wake the fuck up and help you, you know, his book, everything he does to bring you on the other side of that bridge to your soul, to your being, you know, that connection to God. That is so amazing. And, you know, I wrote down a lot of things here. There's another thing that you wrote here in your book that I have to read it because when I read it, I just felt, I loved everything that you wrote in this book, but I love it when you said the following. So, I am God. I have no particular name. They all belong to me. I am all things, all that is. I am the universal generator of supreme knowledge and divine energy. I am you. I am everything you can perceive and everything you cannot. I am the choreographer of the human dance. Oh, I love that. I'm the choreographer of the human dance. I am the conductor of the cosmic symphony. I am the universal playwright. I am the Almighty, the Most High, the Creator. I am love. I am all teachers who have ever come bringing information about love and peace. I am Jesus the Christ. I am the Buddha. I am the Krishna. I am the Sababa. I am the all-knowing. I am all-persuasive and all-seeing eye. I am clarity, the union. I am the eternal. I am the absolute in all of all things. I am the Atma, the soul, the tree of life. I am the only one. I am the Jehovah. I am that I am. Oh, my God, Keith. Whoa. That is absolutely phenomenal. And when I read that, you know, how can human beings understand and embrace the oneness in all things and all beings?
Empty space.
Hmm.
Trying to understand concepts as millions, billions, and trillions is putting the cart before the horse.
Mm-hmm.
We will never understand this kind of complexity. We will never understand what one is if we overlook the single most solitary unit that brings about everything. But what is greater than the one is zero. That's empty space. That's silent. That's be still and know that I am God. So one, zero would be the Godhead. One is something other than the Godhead, which seems like two, one and two, but it's not true. Zero, one. Something that's saying, I am me and this is God. Then we have two, which creates division. But playing in the arena of zero, quiet, no thought, stepping back, let the world fight. You getting out of all that brings you into the qualities of everything you named when God made its declaration. I am the Atma, I am that which is in and of all things. I am the tree of life. All those different qualities of Spirit's name. There's no name that Spirit does not bear. Mm. There is no name. How can we ever fashion a name to that which is you can't. You simply compress God into a limiting box and you put it on the shelf. So zero is the most powerful thing. It's the stargate. It's the cosmic womb of your divine mother that lives in everyone. When we are children and we get born into this earth, you don't only move through your biological mother's womb. You're moving from the galactic womb to the cosmic womb to the divine womb, all the way through this tube, if you will, to be pressed upon this earth. Strangely, the first thing that happens to you, you get a slap in your ass. How you like that for a first impression of this world? Not too good, is it? Yeah. And so the same tube we go back through. We go back through the same cosmic womb. Of course, you don't fit your way into your mother's biological womb. But the point is, we have to do the work that opens up the same gate that birthed us here this time so we can be birthed back to the divine.
Mm. Yes. And can you further explain when you said that the Spirit works in conjunction with your own awareness to bring about what is beneficial for your evolution so that you can may one day embody the divine principle?
For me, for you, for we, Spirit always works. There's always a conversation, even though you know you're having one or not. Mm-hmm. You know, Keith, I'm still very much human, that's for sure. And I make human choices. And so Spirit may send me a signal, okay, Keith, that's enough of being goofy for a little while. Or it may say, Keith, fantastic, keep moving in this, and it gives me greater bangs, and I move great into that because my level of clarity is happening. I understand I'm being prompted with the message. So Spirit is always allowing you to still be a human being, but it also sends you messages. In fact, Spirit doesn't really necessarily send you messages. It's not like Spirit saying, you know, it's not what it is. These are just words to play with to understand how the process is. Everything is inherent all around us at all the time. And so, you know, I get it. I mean, divine beings, Swami, Jesus, Sai Baba, they can actually send you a message, yes, but that's not per se how it works. It doesn't matter. Spirit sends us messages, and it works in conjunction with our own way of thinking and being. But Spirit is always about support. Spirit is never about destruction and or tear down. Never.
Mm-hmm. And in that zero, that silence is, you know, so many, I find that so many people are really even scared to sit down with themselves and have that quiet space in fear of what is going to surface. And as we talked about previously, you know, to not want to let go of them past selves. But in order for people to really kind of hear, you know, get connected or know that Spirit and God is talking to us all the time, what else can they do to allow that dialogue to happen?
That's a fantastic question, because when I was first starting this walk, my first step towards 1,000 years, being raised Catholic, I would sit there in meditation for about 2 minutes and I'd open my eyes. I was scared of what was in there. And I don't mean scared of Keith. My Catholicism said, there's a devil in there jacking with you. Oh. There are a lot of people, whether you are Christian, no matter where you come from, your walk, talk, creed, code, or sect, you close your eyes long enough, you start breathing, and you start touching the divine garment, something inside of you is going to say, I'm not sure what this is. Maybe it's trying to harm me. It's all nonsense. There's nothing in there but you. You're going to scare yourself the most. You're going to bless yourself the most. There's nothing in there but you. You may not like what you see. That means, congratulations, you see exactly what you need to do to be able to cross the bridge to the soul and walk into the garden of the cosmic sandbox. There's work involved, but don't work too hard. Make sure you get a lot of joy and pleasure and bliss into your life. Spirituality is not about working. It's not about hard and difficult. Hard and difficult brings hard and difficult. You have to be soft on yourself. You have to be light on yourself and not so heavy. There's no work. You just sit in nothing and you do nothing. And then suddenly God will say, I've been waiting on you a very long time. It's simply just there. Where is the there? It's here. Where is the here? It's in here. And you just simply just sit in quiet. And I don't mean just be quiet and meditate. And that's beautiful. And that's a wonderful catalyst. But can you just simply sit and expect nothing to happen? That's the key. If you're sitting expecting something, you're missing it. You're working already. You overshot the target. Sit there for the sake of sitting in nothing. And it'll creep its way into your consciousness. And then you will know that the spiritual psilocybin is kicking.
Yeah, but Keith, because we've been through a lot of hardship in our lives, right? With our past experiences. Do you? I think I think possibly, you know what I mean, that working hard is possibly apparent then, but I think as people go through this personal spiritual development journey, it's only when they kind of are able to get through all of this muddiness like you're talking about that they can actually be like, you know what, I'm actually going to decide to evolve with ease and grace. But do you feel that muckiness needs to happen first for that realization? Because to build that spiritual and emotional muscle, to be able to have that realization that you can grow with ease and grace.
I like the way you clarified that. Thank you. It's not really about working hard. Let's use the word, instead of working, you have to apply. You have to apply yourself. So apply means I have to engage. It doesn't mean necessarily I have to squint in meditation really hard and buff myself up. This kind of working it's going absolutely nowhere. You will go nowhere. It will never lead you to the garden gate. So you have to apply certain things to you. But you don't press them in. You don't press hard. You don't try to bully your way into a beautiful space. That simply just will never happen. You have to be in a beautiful space for a beautiful space to actually be with you. Mm-hmm. You can still do the work, but do it joyfully.
Yeah. And I love, there's so many things that you said in this book that I love. So I just want to see if you can dive in deeper when you said that God is love and you are God. Why you fear a part of your experience and not a part of mine. And the reason is, doesn't the duality of God and bad need to exist for the creation of this earth and cosmos? So you said, God is love and you are God, and why is fear a part of your experience and not mine? And so when you said that comment, I was wanting to know, isn't there a duality that needs to exist for the creation of things?
For those who choose to play in that arena. Duality does exist. It's not like we're trying to wipe out and smash and squash out duality. It's a very real reality that's going to happen for millions and millions and billions and trillions of souls throughout eternity. These are all just landmark places where we're choosing at any point in time and space just to be. So it's just, you're an infinite child of the light. You can choose what you want. You can go back home, homecoming. You can cross the bridge to the soul. You can stay in the human meat suit and jack around as much as you want. So all these places exist, except for the person who becomes an aspirant to exalt in, or lift and arise out of, wake the fuck up, out of the experience that they've been bitching, moaning, and complaining about. So if you're complaining, that's a good thing. You're complaining because you don't like where you're at. Phenomenal. Do something about it. When we pray and we want something to change, if we don't change, nothing goes anywhere. The question becomes, now what? In the now what, that's the zero, that's the nothing. Always ask yourself, now what? Even when you're making an achievement of yours, a gorgeous thing that you've been wanting to do with your life, you've done it. Pat yourself on the back. Be good to yourself. The next question becomes, now what? You don't want to sit complacent in this achievement, because then you go around identifying yourself and trying to convince everyone else to identify you with said achievement. Ask yourself, now what? The answer simply comes, now what? What is there next? So what is at the edge of the universe? What if the universe had an edge? What if it did? The question becomes, now what? What's on the outside of the outermost edge? So it's always about expanding. And so when you get to where you think you want to be, don't pigeonhole yourself. Always ask, now what?
Man, oh man, Keith. Oh, my goodness. And I don't have a comment for that. I just love it. And usually I'm up for no words, but I'll let that one marinate. And I would love if you can kind of go deeper into something else that you said in the book, when you said, observe that there is just one difference, the X in the word external crosses out. It interrupts the flow of the word external. This is exactly what happens to your consciousness when you choose to live in the external mode.
Yeah, that's I love that passage.
I love that.
If you look at the word eternal, eternal, we look at the word external, external. They're exactly the same word, except the one, external, has an X in it. And when we live in external mode, we do just that. We actually cross out our chances for eternity, because we're looking out here for that salvation, that one thing that is juicy and awesome to me that I never want to lose, because I'm a whole lot really tight to go anywhere. Hold it really tight. And now that our hands get pried off and we become sad and miserable, that's living externally. Because when our chances for eternity, we're seeking happiness through that person eternally, and when change is always happening. The only thing that will never change is change is always happening. And so when we live externally, we literally cross out, like that X, our chances for eternity. We just simply engage in something that it goes nowhere. It doesn't take us to the track, to the path, to the one path that we want to be on, to take us to the supermarket, to get our spiritual food.
And that leads in perfectly to when you talk about the basics of self-love, and that it begins with finding the part of you that is original, your innermost being, and consciously reuniting with it. So what do you mean by original?
Like you said earlier, if I was to ask you to point to yourself,
oh yes,
this is me. I've only in my years, I've only seen one person, and I asked them to point to themselves. Carol, they did this. So only one person. And but when you point to yourself, and I ask you to point to God, we all know that God lives within. I am in my Father's in me, and I am in you. Seek ye the kingdom of God within. So when you point to God, so the question simply becomes, now what? Where do what you know as you end, and the creator that you pointed to just a moment ago begin? So that would be fear. God doesn't dwell in fear. God doesn't step down to dwell in fear. There's no reality in such energy. In fact, if God was to step down to dwell in fear, fear would dissipate from the very light that was present in the darkness.
Yes. And can you tell me
and
why?
So,
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, please.
No, I was just when you were talking about, I was just in the book as well, as why is the law of possibilities your favorite law?
Because everything always exists everywhere all the time. It's not like things are going to happen to you. You're going to happen to the things or to the events. And so the law of possibilities means miracles are normal occurrences. Miracles are normal occurrences.
Mm-hmm.
That's your original nature, as you asked the question. That is who you are at your authenticity. Your original essence is the miracle itself. You will never see miracles until you realize your own miraculous life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's through said gratitude and perception and realization of that truth that one will see miracles everywhere. People in trouble is a miracle. They're choosing to dwell in trouble and misery. That trouble and misery I went through many years ago, back then it was evil as shit.
Yes,
In hindsight,
yeah.
it became sacred ground.
Yeah.
I submersed myself in misery. And it taught me the greatest lesson. It's kind of sort of like a diamond in a peanut butter jar. The diamond in a peanut butter jar is still a diamond. But it's got sticky shit all over it. So you got to clean it.
Oh, yes. And can you?
You got to clean it.
Oh, yes. Oh man, that is a good analogy. But now I'm craving peanut butter. You know. But can you tell people why there's kind of danger in doubt and disbelief? Because you talk about that in your book as well. But
why there is danger, doubt, and disbelief?
What is the danger in?
What is the danger in doubt and disbelief?
Yeah.
As soon as you're born on the earth, you're already in trouble. Danger is lurking. That's a fact. Something a pilot friend of mine told me many years ago. He says, he used to fly for FedEx and whatever. And he was giving me lessons in flight. And he said, as soon as you leave the ground, you're in trouble. And so doubt and disbelief sort of creates that filter, that fog from the clear mind. Let's say your life partner bought a new piece of furniture. You're not aware because you work late. Lights off, she's sleeping. By the time you come in the house, you think you're familiar with the surroundings. But to surprise you because it's your birthday, she bought you a new chair that you've been asking for to watch your football games. And lights off, and you think you know how to navigate until you break your toe because you didn't know the chair was there. Likewise, awareness, the light of awareness, illuminates the path, and you know how to step so you don't break your toe on the chair your wife bought for your football games. Likewise, doubt and disbelief. I don't believe in this woo-woo. That's okay. Mind your toe. And disbelief, I just don't believe it. I doubt all this stuff. I doubt that some people call it magical thinking. Now that's magical thinking. That's woo-woo. You know? People who are serious about their spirituality, they don't get sick. They don't break their toes. They don't have these things happen because they're living under the umbrella of grace. So the world is already dangerous, even for those who illuminate Jesus. Many beings of light have left in violent ways. But it's a buffer for the things that are not necessary and don't have to happen on this dualistic world that we just talked about.
Yes. That
will forever exist for people who choose to want to play simply on this stage.
Yes. And I know talked about that empty space, the zero, that clarity, but what are some other of your personal and spiritual truths that hold true to you?
My favorite four: passion, sincerity, humility, and vulnerability. Passion is getting the grease under your fingernails, rolling up your sleeves to fix that engine, fix your car engine. That's passion. I'm gonna fix this car. Sincerity is kind of like being in the bosom of your grandmother. I mean it. Kind of like your brand new little sister, pink energy kind of thing. I'm serious about this. I mean it. That soft thing. But don't kid yourself. That soft thing is powerful. Wow. So passion would be the fire and the active. Humility would be your baby sister in the passive. Humility is taking the posture of reverence to say, I don't know shit.
Yes.
I'm humble to the master, the Lord. Most people think the Lord is a man. That's not what the Lord is. The Lord is the Lord that rises from the earth. It happens to take guys in the form of human beings, The Lord, and saying the Lord is a man actually puts it in a very small box. And saying that's all you will ever be as a man, that's not what the Lord is. Likewise, when we find ourselves in reverence, humility, we basically say, I don't know anything. Rise through me, my Lord, so that I may become just like you. Vulnerability is being willing to be naked, nude, exposed, opening this up so that your light can step out, because there are no secrets. To be seen. Everyone wants to be seen. Some people. So why not be your rock star this time around? Step on the stage and let everybody know that you exist. These 4 components, if it brought to me God to have an experience with over the course of my life, you can have anything you want, effortlessly. Passion, sincerity, humility, and vulnerability. If you follow these 4 models, you will be nicely walking towards your 1,000-year journey, all the way to nowhere except right here.
I love that. And, I think, one of, out of those 4, the biggest one is vulnerability, and a lot of people say,
scary shit.
Vulnerability is weakness and everything like that. But vulnerability is such strength because, you're being real, raw, and like you said, naked with your shit. And, and it's like, this is who I am. And so that allows people to kind of deal. But at the same time, like people resonate with people's, hardship. And what we go through shouldn't, I think everything that we go through in life is meant to be shared with others, because our ability to kind of break through those challenges and still stand strong as we are today can be a guiding post for them to make it in their life.
Absolutely. If you don't mind, may I pause for 30 seconds to use the restroom?
Yes.
It just has to happen. Talk to these beautiful people. Tell them how awesome you are.
Yeah. Yeah. So everybody listening today, that is the reason why I wanted to kind of talk to Keith. Like, he is so fantastic. And I believe when you guys are able to read his book and just kind of get connected to everything that he says in there, like it's so important, because the thing is, it allows us to connect with ourselves and a lot of things that, you know what I mean, that we think are important and stuff like that. It really isn't that much important. And the thing is, everything that we're talking about, even what Keith has been demonstrating, especially when we were talking about that passage in the book where he says the difference between external and eternal is that X. So a lot of the times we are one to look outside of ourselves for the answers, outside of ourselves for success, outside of ourselves for happiness and joy. However, everything that needs to be done is to look inward. You know what I mean? We have our own, beautiful essence inside of us. Okay, yes. Now Keith is back. Yeah. So there's some more gems from your book that I want to talk about. Like I love when you said the following, and I think the reason why I think it's important, and you can dive more deeper into it, is because when we are, say, looking for, say, mentors or a teacher or something like that, and you have these kind of 2 important components that you mentioned. So I love it when you said that I will tell you how to recognize not only Jesus, but any true teacher of God. If the teacher teaches unconditional love, that's number 1. And 2, if the teacher does not claim to be God over you, but rather helps you see that you are his or her equal in God. I'm like, oh, that is so amazing. Can you dive deeper in that?
I don't think we can.
Like, whoa.
God doesn't favor anything. It doesn't oppose or favor anything. It's zero. It doesn't have a desire. It doesn't have a want really for itself. God has everything. If God has a want, if anything, it would be your love. God doesn't have a want for anything. So Jesus is not higher than you. In fact, Jesus has passed through this earth that time 2,000 years ago was not about Jesus. It was about you That should point out to you how significant and important you are to the entire tapestry of the universe and all the universes, the omniverses. Jesus didn't come here to do this for him. He did it for you. Most people don't see that. They get down on bended knee and it's Jesus, 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 and they keep him on that old rugged cross. He's still freaking being crucified by many people. You take him down from the old rugged cross. He called you brother. Seek ye the kingdom within. In the future, you will do greater works than I. This came from his mouth. So how can anyone ever feel inferiority or inferior to Jesus' accomplishments and his persona, his being, and degrade themselves when he said, in fact, if he was all that most people claim he is, how can you ever do anything that will supersede or pass up what he said that you can do? Mm-hmm. It becomes a confusion immediately, and it's nonsense. So if people would look at specifically the teachings of the Christ himself and do not take them out of context, unless it's a parable being shared, then you got to find your way in there and figure out the conundrum, so to speak. But God does not favor anything. In fact, if that was the truth, the whole universe would just simply collapse. It would just simply collapse, because as soon as you were not favored by God, you would be smited just like that. He didn't have to smite you with his will. I just don't like what you're doing. In fact, it's impossible. God can't do away with an aspect of himself because God itself is omnipresent.
Mm. Amazing. And I love
it's not hard, is it? It's very easy in it.
Yeah.
When we get out of the noise and simply step back from the whole shenanigans, it's like, oh my God, this is something so beautiful that just simply exists. And I'm conscious. I am conscious in my life to experience not only the greatest possibility, the greatest creation in the universe is to be human, but to be human in this period that has been foretold for thousands and thousands of years. God damn, you are special.
Yes. Amen to that. Oh, yes. And people need to hear that, because a lot of the time, again, with this social conformity that we have been placed into in this modern age, that, you know, we are wanting a different life and thinking that we need to pursue this to be successful, feel wanted, be accepted. But each one of us individually is uniqueness, and we are part of that whole part of that creator, and people need to realize it. And, you know, you said something else that I really love, and you said there's only one cast, the cast of humanity. Like, God, Keith, that is amazing.
There's only one caste. There's only one religion, the religion of love. There's only one race. It's only humanity. It's not hard. I've been saying this for a long time. If you're trying and you think that receiving your grace and your manna happens at church on Sunday at 9:00, wonderful. I'm glad you're attending something. That could mean everything. But your deity was not your said religion. Your deity was your deity, and the religion followed. And he wants to take you and bring you to where he's at. That's the whole purpose of, you can recognize a teacher by unconditional love and does not see you as a student. He will always lift you to his level of being. That's the whole purpose. Christianity really means to become the Christ. Buddhism really means to become the Buddha. You become a fireman, you do exactly what firemen do. You want to become a culinary chef, you go to culinary school, do what they do. So if you want to become a spiritual, illumined individual, you have to go to Spirituality 101 and do what you got to do to get there, to find yourself crossing the bridge to the soul, into a space of homecoming to where you live that very principle, that very truth. Mm-hmm. There is no other way. There just simply is no other way. There are many paths to the path. There's only one path.
Amazing. And I know we kind of touched about it a little bit previously, but I wanted to see if you can, explain this further. When you said, absolute clarity is one of my grandest attributes. For you to have it will require crystal clear intention, a lifelong commitment of your spirit, mind, and body, your feelings, thoughts, and actions, constantly working to dislodge and discard all beliefs that block clarity's light. Every time you employ discipline and dedication, you will be closer to me at a conscious level. So can you explain how important clarity is? God is love.
It's easy. We just have to get out of the noise. Clear or not, you are loved so beyond measure, you will get exactly what you ask for. God says, God is the unconditional wishing tree. And without judgment, acceptance, allowance, and appreciation is what unconditional love is. It's not, come over here, baby, give me some sugar. Unconditional love is acceptance. God accepts everything exactly as it is. He allows it to. If he didn't, just the thought of not allowing it would wipe it out, and he appreciates it. These are qualities God sees in himself. He accepts, allows, and appreciates. So when one becomes clear in acceptance, allowance, and appreciation, life simply becomes a song. You have to understand and be able to see. You have to see, not see. See. When you see the truth, the vessels, the doors begin to simply open. There's only one path. That is, if you see God as unconditional love, then you have to be unconditional. You have to be allowing, accepting, and appreciative. And in so doing, you realize that we have to become the level of love that God is to ever unite with divine parent. And then it will simply become apparent to you of what you have to do is to become clear. You have to become clear. You have to be dedicated to walking that 1,000 years. And in so being that, you might only have to step 10 times. I stepped for 3 weeks in prayer and opened up the universal door, and Creator came, sat in my lap. That's the importance of clarity, is just to be clear in intent. You want poverty? God says, I will give you an abundance of poverty if that's what you want. Here you go. You play with that. You want beautiful things in your life? And it doesn't say good for you. I'm glad you asked, because I've been waiting to give you beautiful things. It just simply beautifully gives you everything you ask for. Yes. And when we realize the level of creator that we are, it'll motivate you to get your life together. Because you have no more power when you illuminate than you have right now. That's the big illusion. Many people think that when you exalt and you have all this divine power, that's not the truth at all, because you're divine right now. In fact, it's not really you, but it is you, because the you, it's your authenticity is that. And so when you understand that when you're illumined, you just happen to be clear, you still have the same power. When you're not illumined, you're not clear, you still have the same power. The perk of being clear is you get what you want consciously, and you can have it right now.
Oh, that's beautiful. And it kind of ties into, this other thing that you said in your book that I loved, when you said, when you choose God as a primary force and focus in your life, all things move towards you, just like how you just were talking about. Not only because of that magnetic light you radiate, but because within God, all things exist. And as soon as you allow me to take up full-time residence in both your mind and your heart, you will flourish. Like, oh, that is so amazing. That's so beautiful. So it just kind of really, builds on to what you just said. Amazing. And I wanted to kind of talk to you about a certain concept, and I'm not sure if I got this incorrect when I was reading your book, but to talk about a desire, and it was surrounding that scenario when, you know what I mean, like, say we see people suffering because they don't have anything to eat, like the homeless, third world countries, and it's something in there that the desire is enough to heal them, or the desire is enough to change or transform because you can see them in a different light. Can you clarify or kind of tell me what I was comprehending was right or incorrect, and lead that into the right direction?
Some people just don't give a shit about anything. Your care for the man standing on the corner, holding up a sign for food, is enough. When I was in India, I was in a situation and I asked for an answer for something. No, I asked, there was a lecture going on by one of the Sai Baba's attendants, helpers. He was giving a lecture about his time with Sai Baba for many, many years. And I asked him a question. You're not supposed to go outside of the ashram gates because of all the negativity, the beggars and the people faking being sick, trying to get money and all that. So it was time for question and answer from the audience. So I raised up my hand and the helper says, Saddam, yes. I said, every time I go outside on the street and I want to, he goes, why are you going outside? He's automatically scolding me, reprimanding me. Why are you going outside? You're not supposed to be going outside. This guy goes outside. And so he gave me some whatever answer. And I said, thank you. This African gentleman behind me taps me on the shoulder. The question I asked him is, why do little children out there, and he gave me some bullshit answer. And this African gentleman pats me on the shoulder and said, and I leaned to him, I said, yes. He says, your compassion is enough. Because the compassion begins to move in you and create a new possibility as we express light into the world. It's enough. It's simply just enough. Some people don't care about anything. So when you have millions of people compassionate and thinking about what that really is, then every step you take, everything you choose, you walk soft upon the earth. You walk always towards compassion. And you bring those along with you. It is enough. If you can't help the man on the corner financially, help him spiritually, send him a prayer, send him a blessing, surround him in the light of effulgent of 10,000 suns. It does wonders.
Yes. That is so beautiful, Keith. Thank you for clarifying that, because a lot of the time, when I see something like that, I just care about a lot of things. When you see people hurting or suffering, it's like, it makes you emotional. It makes you want to see what you can do to change something. And I didn't really look at that perspective, like you said in the book, that having that desire, having that compassion is enough because of the unseen energy of the spiritual aspect, that we can send them a prayer, we can meditate, and that is so powerful. So thank you for that.
Sure. And another aspect, here's another spin. Most people think that we're helping them. No one dares, in their arrogance, to think that they're helping you. They're helping you to develop your compassion. It's a shake hands deal. That takes two people to shake hands. So as you give someone a bite of food, they're teaching you the most valuable spiritual lesson. Is how to care. In such a way, they are imbuing or emoting master qualities. A teacher will teach you compassion. A spiritual teacher will teach you compassion. He'll teach you this and that. But in this way, someone who is needing food, in your $5 that you gifted him, he's teaching you compassion. He's helping you pull that out of yourself and make it to a living experience. Very gorgeous.
That's beautiful, Keith. Thank you so much for your time and wisdom. And do you have any other messages for those who are watching and listening to us right now?
I'm going to fall inside, allow myself to, some people call it channeling. I don't like the word. It's too much negative connotation. I call it more vesseling, but that's not correct either. It's more like a draping. I allow this energy to fall into me as I fall into it, and we together step forward, Keith and the Spirit. And we see you here, but do you hear it, the message that has been brought to you this day? Spirit wants to acknowledge Carol Benias. The vessel that speaks to you comes to you in all love, all gratitude, and all appreciation for the opportunity to be human. Will you allow yourself to receive this manna, to take it into yourself so you may expand it to the greatest possibility? What is that greatest possibility? Expect it to be great and beautiful, but don't expect anything. In your expectation, you will slow down your gait. You will be late for the party, as you may call it. The party has been going on for a long time. You just now have the invitation that you received in your mailbox, if you will. But if you will, take this opportunity. There are quite a few teachers upon this planet right now, as you are being spoken to through one of them, that will enlighten and inform you quickly, exponentially, to the place you claim you want to be, but do you really? Do you want to be blissful? If you're answering yes like a little puppy dog wagging his tail in the window who's about to be bought, you're in the wrong direction. You're walking backwards. Do you want to be blissful? Sit in the quiet of it. Don't expect anything. Don't expect an answer. Don't expect your future to look like a certain thing, or through certain people, or through certain events. But you can bet that your future will be bright and beautiful if you simply allow it, appreciate it, experience it, call it forth. It is your divine birthright. Why were you born? Very simple, powerful questions that takes you to infinity. Does it not? This is your turn. This is your turn, all of you. It will not come back around again for what you call linearly 26,000-ish, give or take, years. But to all my dears, all those with ears who choose to hear this loving, powerful message, infused with divine light packets that will begin to unfold in all of you as you take in this manna in this manner. But it requires you to simply sit down with your gift and unwrap it. That will wrap it up. Your love beyond measure.
Oh, thank you so much for that, Keith. That was absolutely amazing. Thank you for your presence, your wisdom, and just everything that the gift that of wisdom that you gave everyone watching and listening today. Thank you so much. And where can people connect with you and purchase your book that is coming out on August 1st, 2020, The Homecoming, Bridging You to Your Soul?
Thank you for having me on Wake the Fuck Up Movement show. And as your first guest, I'm humbled and I'm honored. And you are very, very good. I gave you a list of questions and you did use them, but you asked them in your own way. You brought out to you what was important to you, which is always important to the listeners. People ask me when they come on Center of Light Radio, what do you want to talk about? This is your platform. I want you to talk to me and my audience about what fires you up. That's the whole purpose. You can find me at centeroflightradio.com or keithanthonyblanchard.com. It's the same site. All my creations, my movies, all my books are there under the Creations tab. You can find me on youtube.com/Center of Light Radio. Please go subscribe. And I subscribed to yours earlier. Please go subscribe. Give me some comments. Give me some likes. You can pre-order my soon-to-be release, 30 years of blood, sweat, and tears. 30 blood, sweat, and years. Homecoming, crossing the bridge to the soul, coming out of the funk of a dark night of the soul, moving across, everything's backwards, so it's strange, moving across the bridge until you become here. When you step on that bridge, and you never have, it's a little rocky. It's crickety and rickety, and you don't know how to get your balance. But once you start getting used to the dynamic of the bridge, how it moves, and then you can manipulate the bridge. You can use it in your favor. In fact, it's kind of like using a hula hoop. You can show all your friends around how you've mastered this particular bridge dance, if you will. Strange metaphor. But you can order Homecoming, Crossing the Bridge to the Soul, my book out, as Carol said, August 1st, 2020, on Amazon.com right now. Pre-order. This book will open you up. It will open you. You can find me on Facebook, Keith Anthony Blanchard. I am a very approachable guy. I love people. I love hugging some necks and kissing some cheeks. That's me. God bless you.
Thank you so much. You know what's so hilarious, Keith? I didn't get those questions. or maybe I didn't know where you sent them. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's beautiful.
Yeah. So I didn't know what you sent. So I'm like, when I went through your book, like there's so many things that stuck out for me that I so loved. And yeah, I'm happy I got to, talk to you and ask you more about it. But yeah, so thank you guys all again for taking the time to listen to Keith and I, and go and get his book, The Homecoming. It will change your life. And if spirituality is what you want to delve in more to, why not tap into Keith's wisdom and his experience of the last 30 years? So thank you guys so much. And as always, treat others with love, kindness, and compassion. Much love and peace out.